all your guys are able to take a beating in some ways.
And 99% of them can take that beating and give it right back.
This is Men in Labor.
Heavy loader, load it up. You don't have any millennial contractors right now.
No.
All your guys are able to take a beating in some ways.
And 99% of them can take that beating and give it right back.
And you're hoping for that.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I look for that.
That's how you create a relationship.
There is I don't know, there's a school of thought here with this younger generation, even in blue collar, that if you tease too much, that you could hurt their feelings. And then the older guy who's used to not hurting anyone's feelings, even though he says the most heinous shit, will pull back and start becoming softer. And it's the saddest thing I've ever seen.
No.
It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. It's guys who are losing their masculinity. Someone has started to take a piece. I tell my wife all the time, don't take my balls. I started saying that early on, don't take my balls, right? And now I do a whole bit on low testosterone, and the whole sperm count thing is down in the country. And I do a whole bit on stage. And she comes to enough shows now where I'm not even doing a show for anyone else. I'm doing a show because I know she's in the audience to hear me tell her, don't take my balls in a different way.
Please.
My version of that.
That's what I've been doing because I think that they're listening. And the women in the crowd are listening, by the way.
My version of that. And of course, Sandy is Italian. So I used to say to her, I said,
Sandy, your wife.
My ex-wife.
Your ex-wife.
My ex-wife.
So she took your balls enough where now she's your ex.
Here's what I used to say to her. I said,
now she took one of the balls?
I go out in my world.
Did you miss that joke? Donnie sometimes chimes in with a gem.
I got that. But, as I get older, I try to, when I have a thought, I try to get it out.
Can you at least acknowledge that he was funny, Jeff, for a second?
You were
I need
hilarious.
it for validation.
You were hilarious.
That was funny.
You're okay, young.
Can you see my face?
Yes.
Everyone out there, can you see my face?
Unfortunately.
Because we could not see Jeff's face at all in the last podcast. I really have to apologize for Men in Labor's first podcast. Now we have it set up where you can see almost a full body shot of the contractor.
Yeah.
Jeff, he's his whole beautiful face. He's got all of his hair. He's a pretty man.
He's just hair. He's just hair.
And
it's just to make fun of you. I did that on purpose.
We could actually bust balls on the contractors who were here before too. I think they'll be okay with that. Like if I'm like 6 podcasts in and we go back to the Jeff Eslinger, by the way, from EM Custom Homes, which is Eslinger Maglick Custom Homes.
Well, no way. It's EM Custom Homes.
Okay.
A Eslinger and Maglick Corporation.
Oh, wow. It's too much for this pod. Really,
That's
there's so many people that have just tuned out because they're like, this fucking guy, he's so full of his name. We'll get you a gig. I know what you want. You want money for the pod and you want someone to buy a house from you. This
not necessarily in that order.
This ball busting, by the way,
but you didn't
could happen in the future when you're gone. Is that okay?
I don't care.
Okay, good.
Hey, I'm a big boy. I can take it. But let me finish.
And you're a Florida native?
Born and raised, bro.
Yeah, so you got to be careful. These
born
fuckers,
and raised.
They know shit that no one else knows.
You know what? We know where the swamps are.
See the little, it's almost a Cajun accent that came in there for a second. One of those, almost like a New Orleans. How do you say it, New Orleans?
No, we're in the South.
That's an offense, right, to say New Orleans.
No, we're in the South, but it would be you remember Carmen went fishing the other day, and damned if he didn't come back.
It's almost Italian. The Italians do the same thing.
That's all right. There's not a lot of difference between country boys and Italians.
No, anyone that has their culture tight and they want the people in their culture to understand certain things, there's a language, there's a behavior. And, like with my family, Italians, it's never something that an outsider can see. Why is my Aunt Patty bringing you a cannoli and pinching your cheek and calling you a cute name like Carmenucci?
Mm-hmm.
Not because she wants you to have dessert. She needs something from you.
Oh, sure.
She's going to get it from you, too.
Sure.
And they always win.
It doesn't make any difference what your background is. There's all kinds of different ways to get what you want, whether you're Southern, German, Irish, Scottish, Italian. It's just the way it works. All my stuff is all Southern based.
Yeah.
I might say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, but I'm going to get what I want at the end of the day.
It's a polite way.
Yes, sir.
You just used it on me. Which is, people like it. People really like it. I've never heard anyone say that they don't like the politeness of the South. They don't maybe get the underlying context as clearly, like kind of like with the millennials. When I tell, my other pod, the comedy pod, and I talked to somebody, Ryan, he's 24. I said, I get what you're doing. They have a way of speaking. The millennials have a way of speaking to older people, typically boomers, in a condescending enough way that's clever that you don't even know that they're ripping on you.
I'm just going to say, you don't even know they're doing it.
You don't even know they're doing it.
But see, the thing is, that's the way I was brought up. That's the way we brought our kids up. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. Open the door for somebody. And depending on what part of the country you're from, I've had people look at me and when I'd say yes, ma'am, or no, sir, they look at me like I'm disrespecting them.
Yeah.
I'm not your ma'am.
I almost brought that up to you as you were speaking, but you know why?
Why?
There's been an oversirred language. When you get the sir too many times, which happens, they don't mean sir anymore. They're like, okay, sir. All right, sir.
That's the smart ass undertone.
Yeah. And that's probably why people are getting offended now by something, because they believe it's sarcasm. They don't believe it's real. They don't trust you.
Well, you know what?
Can you be trusted?
And yes, I can be trusted. But at my advanced age of 64, I can still use different tones of voice and cut you up one side, down the other, and you won't even know it.
Now, why would we do that?
Well, we don't. But we don't.
For fun.
But you know what? Rather than being physical like most people want to be nowadays, if someone disrespects you, you just beat them up with your words and they don't even know it. And then you get back in your truck and you leave. And
so this is, again, subcontractor talk.
Well, not necessarily subcontractors. It might work in every day.
Yeah.
Do you think that the average Joe Blow dealing with, I hire someone, not me, someone hires a contractor that is not familiar to the construction world. They bring them into their house, right? It could be a small job, just building a shelf. It could be fixing a screen. They don't realize how to talk to the contractor.
A lot of people don't.
And a lot of people, what I see is a lot of people get taken advantage of by a class of people, right? There's a group of handymen out there. There's a group of contractors out there, right? Those people in the customer service-based industries that are not really construction, almost just service, right? You got a lot of strange people out there. Don't you think you have to be rough with these people automatically?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think there's a certain way that if you want to, there's a certain way to handle things. And, being in this business as long as I've been in it, I can tell right away through a subcontractor or even through a client that's giving me a load of bullshit.
No, not the client. Don't you think that the homeowner has to be a little rough with the contractor? Because contractors, that's how they respect you. You just told me that if you talk to the sub rough, he'll listen.
Oh, okay. Well, I see where you're going with that. I think a lot of times,
if you're too nice to a contractor, is that a mistake?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a mistake?
To a certain extent. I think a lot of times, and a lot of times especially when I'm interacting with somebody, you're in a business scenario, but I try to inject humor to let them know that I'm not anybody better than you are because I'm here to build your house or whatever. I think it opens the doors in so many different ways.
Yeah, I agree with the humor for 100%. Almost all of it, other than here's what I need done, should be humorous or entertainment talk. Straight talk about your child or anything is just it's too boring. Number one.
I think okay. So
number two, people are. You should never really give too much information.
No.
If I'm there's a guy testing backflows out here today, right? Someone I don't know from the county, right? And he saw me out in the garage.
He probably don't want to talk to you anyway.
I didn't want to talk to him. He wanted to talk to me, right? Oh. So, and I could hear he's New York, New Jersey, something like that. He's smoking. I don't smoke, but I told my wife, I go, if I go out there to talk to him, I'm going to light up. I have cigarettes.
I just want to fit in.
I'm going to fit in. I know.
See,
exactly
you're easily influenced.
No. No. He is easily influenced. I'm a chameleon. Like if I have to perform on stage, mm-hmm. It's old people. It's 55 to 85. I got a whole new act.
Oh, sure.
If it's young people, I got a whole new act. Mm-hmm. I can adapt because I'm paying attention to the world is what I'm saying. These people who are hiring contractors to come to their house are bitching all the time. It's all I see, but you were dumb. You gave this guy almost all the money up front. You trusted that without one piece of material on the job site, that you gave him the money to go buy it. You never asked him for a license. You never asked him for insurance. Then you're surprised because now he disappeared for 2 weeks. There's a dumpster in front of your house and it hasn't been moved.
Well, first of all, if any contractor asks anybody for all the money up front, you need to turn.
Why is it happening,
and run.
Jeff? Why is it happening?
It doesn't happen where I come from.
Because you're building a high-end product. I'm talking about the screen guy, the guy who's fixing concrete, the shelf guy, this guy. Some of these people, there's a lot of scams going around right now with roofing.
Oh, absolutely. With this, especially after the storms and people taking advantage of people that have gone through this disaster of losing their houses. That's when you, as the customer that's interviewing that contractor, you need to know your shit when you're talking to them.
This is what I'm saying. It's not just even a matter of how to talk to this guy, but you got to do homework. This is one of the most important things that people miss.
Absolutely.
You're going to do a bathroom for 40 G's. Mm-hmm. You're going to give the guy 20 grand up front. He hasn't done anything. He came to the house. He was with you. I'd like to know the number of hours the man was with you. Was he in the house an hour? 2 hours? Did he make another phone call? Did it seem like he was in your life for a week when he was only in your life for 70 minutes?
And he walks away with 20 grand?
20 grand.
Okay, first and foremost, I want to know, for 40 G's, is he doing the secondary bathroom or the master bathroom?
But it's not you.
If he's doing the secondary bathroom.
It's my neighbor next door that's single whose husband died 20 years ago.
And so she's got somebody coming in to do the guest bath for 40 grand?
I don't know.
I would check it out.
In this neighborhood, there's no bathroom worth 40 grand.
No, absolutely not.
That's the problem.
Absolutely not.
The lady
and now, if you're paying
2 doors down, spent $200,000 on her condo, and I went in there. I go,
and she's going to recoup.
They're nothing.
Zero.
The problem is that even the association as a whole in this condo that I live in now. I hate to say it, everybody. I shattered your ideal of me. It's not a mansion in the fucking hills. It's a condo. Anyway, the association
amongst old people.
That's where I'm hiding. The association doesn't even really vet out the contractors because in this market today, who's available to come and fix it now is that's the currency. Can I get here fast? And then you ask the guy for his credentials and he goes, oh, I don't know. I'm going to have to, it'll take me about, all they have to do is be clever. It take me a while. I got to go to DBPR. I got to go to my insurance guy. I got to go
6 months.
And then people are like, oh, we need it done. And I got 5 other customers in line. Like I've heard this from every one of these guys. And I don't want to say this is the construction world, but this is when you start talking about how do you talk, you cannot just talk nicely if you're a customer. You're going to have to be demanding. You're going to have to say, this is what I want in this time frame. I'm going to need this from you. And here's the amount of money I'm willing to give you up front because I know the law. And if you don't do that, then I can't hire you. That's it. It's over.
And if I walk through the door as a contractor, and that's the first thing out of the potential client's mouth,
yeah,
I'm going to say good luck.
See, exactly. That's the fear. You just confirmed it.
You can't be a ball buster like minute one.
It wasn't a ball bust. Now he
the way you stated that.
See, what he meant was, I'll never work for you, Carmen. That's what he meant.
Nah.
Number 2 is, I'm assuming there was some other marketing conversation prior to that. Where he is either sold them on something.
Most of the people that call us have done some sort of research on us before we even interact with
You're
them.
building a brand new structure, ground up.
That's what I do for a living. It's
Absolutely.
called custom home building.
Okay. The different game.
Now, see, you're talking about remodeling.
If the recession
we
comes,
don't do
Jeff,
that.
If the recession comes,
If the recession comes,
and you have to sell aluminum siding door to door up north in New England.
well, first of all, the farthest I would go north would probably be between Asheville and Bryson City, North Carolina.
There's that accent. I knew it was coming back. I offended him by even mentioning the north.
No, it's all different kinds of people up there. You know, my ultimate desire with the latter part of my life is I want to live in Mayberry, RFD.
Yeah.
And I want to go to
What's wrong with
breakfast every
Arcadia?
morning with Barney and Andy and Floyd the barber.
Well, how much longer do you think you got? You're
Well,
64.
64. You know,
This is the problem with old people.
if the good Lord blessed me with another
They think
20
they're gonna
years, I'm
see,
okay.
But the last 10 suck. It's an assisted living facility in Venice. So you better go to Mayberry now.
You know, the way I look at it is, as hard as I've worked, it won't be an assisted living facility in Venice. I'd look at something maybe on Lido and Longboat.
You're hoping.
I want to be I want to be near the water.
You're at this point. Look, this podcast is about dreaming, isn't it, Donnie? Is this about dreaming? Lifestyle, hope, helping transition the contractor that's been in. This should be the podcast, by the way, because we're getting a lot of guys in their 60s. Because I'm in my 60s, and all my contractors who go to my school are older, and they always say to me, "I don't know what I'm going to do after this." Now they all have lots of cash. Would you wait, Donnie? You're 31. Would you wait until you're 64? Could you imagine waiting until you're 64 to live by something you've always wanted?
I hate to break it to you, but I'm kind of living by my dad's principles. And my dad's 80 and he's still, or my dad's almost 80, I should say. And he's still working.
Why can't
he's
I
still working
convince
almost
people?
minimum wage jobs.
I've never been able to convince people to stop working and go do stand-up.
I think we have a recruit.
No,
Well,
I want to do voice. You know this. I want to do voiceover.
And there's no reason you should not
You have
have.
a great voice for
You
that.
should have never. You should have. That's something you should have always done. There's no reason
Okay.
you should. How
All
do you
right.
say that? A double negative.
So I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I first went to college, I was in communications with a secondary degree in broadcasting. And I just fell into the construction business because my great-grandfather was one. My grandfather was a small commercial developer in Bradenton, and my dad's a contractor. I just kind of fell into it.
So it was a
But
family
I've
curse.
always done some stuff on the side. You know that. You helped me do the voiceover for the chili cook-off for the firemen a couple, 2-3 years ago. I love that stuff.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and it's very possible in today's world for you to have your own podcast. There's no reason that if this is something that you wanted to do, and you could do it firsthand knowledge about new homes, or you could do it about any topic that you like, maybe even collectibles of the 60s, including Batman, because I know you're a big Batman fan.
I could do a whole podcast and all the shit I got that says Batman on it.
I mean, do you know how many people love to talk about Batman?
Oh yeah.
I am rewatching all of my stuff now again. I haven't got to Batman yet, but I went through my period now of The Hobbit. So all this years, I'm on Harry Potter right now. Any sci-fi, any fantasy, any superhero stuff. Batman, I just kind of watched some of the Batman stuff, especially the stuff with Ra's al Ghul, which is my favorite. That it was Batman Begins, I believe, is that series.
Yeah.
Yep.
That to me, and Bane, of course, the scene with Bane and you born into the darkness. That to me, that kind of stuff is what can lift you up in real life. That's fantasy, but you're trying to live that way in real life. You're trying to be Batman-ish in your life in some way.
You know what? Let me add this too. We're trying to be Batman-ish, but every once in a while you run into a Joker. Right?
Well, that's right.
And Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, that's
amazing.
the standard right
Amazing.
there, brother. That's the standard
Amazing.
right there.
And see, that kind of talk, and you could talk about that 2 hours.
Oh,
for
sure.
2 hours easily.
Let's do it.
It's a simple thing to do. People love it. I think now in today's world, I always say, you know, I started off in construction, got into stand-up, and then kind of went back to construction in a way with the construction comedy school and the construction comedy gigs. And
was your family construction based? Is that how you got into it?
it's all we did. The only person that didn't do it, my father tried to break away from it. He tried to break away from it. But everybody was either, my grandfathers were, not my mother's side, my father's side he was working for the city of Cleveland paving roads. So he worked that job. His brothers were carpenters. My Uncle Paul, Big Paul right here, looking at a job in Little Italy. Uncle Al was a major carpenter. I mean, he could make you a desk from just scratch we did that in his garage one time, just scratch wood that he had in the corner. I said, the wrong thing to say to a carpenter is, I need a desk, Uncle. He goes, we'll build it. I go, no, I don't want to build it. We built a desk, right? Everybody in the business. And then, of course, the most successful Uncle Frank was a home builder. And he was a lath guy back in the 60s, and he was really good at it. And he was a risk taker. So he was a subdivision guy. Then he became small commercial. Then he became a hospital. You know, he didn't build a hospital, but he bought old hospitals, like 10, 12-story buildings, and then renovated them and leased them all out. He was getting to the point where he was really, and he was getting, at the end of that, he was done. He was buying racehorses at that point. He had 12 racehorses. He'd been living in white brick mansions for 30 years. He was driving Lincolns onto job sites. He never got out of the car. You know, so he was an influence to watch that guy and to want to live like that guy, an old school Italian. You know, Uncle Frank, he didn't play, and he had his guys. He had Cookie, he had Bones, you know, had these guys that never left his side. And he had an old school rotary phone with an amplifier in it because his hearing was going. So the fucking phone would just ring off the hook, and he's like, oh, pick up the phone. Then he'd like, hello, and he'd yell in the phone, and like a 3-second conversation with no words. Yeah. Bye. Boom. And then back to the game.
The sign of a good contractor is he's got to have some form of hearing loss.
No OSHA back then.
No
OSHA still in Cleveland.
No.
I mean,
well,
you go to Cleveland and you
do you have
go
to have a
these job
contractor's
sites.
license?
No.
Up there? No.
What?
There's no license. There's no license for the carpenter, for the home builder. There's no license for, I think it's HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And it's not like Florida. You know, it's not like a continuing education thing. It's easier. Florida is probably one of the toughest states to be a contractor.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and it's more about business.
Just to pass the test.
It's more about business too.
And here's an example. My folks have had a house up in Bryson City, North Carolina since 1972. My brother, myself, and my dad, we all worked on it, building the place up. Now, when he bought the property, we went down to the Bryson City Municipal Building to get a building permit. And we basically drew a sketch of the house on a napkin and gave it to him. And he goes, okay, Mr. Eslinger, you're good to go.
Yeah. And I hear that story a lot. And I don't see a lot of decrepit, defunct buildings. I see a lot of buildings that are still standing.
No.
And, you know, in Florida, there is no skill test. The license is not a skill test. No one's asking you to do anything in front of any board and saying, okay, you're a great mason. You're a great HVAC guy. There's no skill test. It's all, how much money do I need in the bank? How much experience do you have that someone can verify, which is the test. Have you been working in construction more than 5 years? Can someone sign off on you as a fact that you work for them? Or do you have a combination of college and construction? That's another way of doing it. Because my son went to the construction management program for UF, and he can get his license based on what he's done right now, which is 2 years, I think, 2 years or 3 years in the trades. Construction management, actually. He's a white collar, blue collar guy. You know, so he's a superintendent.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But I'm saying, does he really know how to build a house? Does he really know how to put the materials together?
See, here's the philosophy.
He could read a blueprint.
Here's the philosophy of my dad. When my brother and I decided that, okay, we want to be a part of this, he literally said to us, before I give you the keys to the car, you're going to learn how the car goes together, which means I dug footers, I tied steel, I hung drywall. We were our first framing crew.
Wow.
And dug footers. My dad used to make the comment, my mom would back him up and goes, man, we should have bought stock in shovel handles, because you're busting a shovel handle 2-3 times a week. You know, when you're growing up in Florida and you're digging a footer in the middle of August and it's 132 degrees out, you know, you kind of lose your cool a little bit. And especially when you're digging through that Florida limestone and it just took you 2.5 hours to go 16 inches, screw the shovel handle. That some bitch is going to get broke.
You know, it's a different game down here.
But now they got
That
these
hot.
machines that do all that.
It's that hot in Florida that you could get very frustrated.
We also did, my brother and I also did shingles. Now, depending on what time of the year it was, we get up at 4:30 in the morning, get on the roof by 5:30, get off by 9:30, and then go back at 5:30 in the afternoon and work till dark, because during the day, I used to show to my dad, to tell him, there's no way I'm getting on this freaking roof at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I put a thermometer on a chimney, and that got up to 128 degrees.
See, you had motivation. Again, Jeff, last week, 2 weeks ago, his father, right? His father got him involved in construction. What's the motivation for Donnie to get into construction today? For a guy that's 31 years old, what if someone
I mean,
wanted
31 almost feels late to get into it, doesn't it?
It's never too late. It's never
I feel
too
like
late.
you could, but your body's just not accustomed to it. You'd have to take so long just to be able to get.
Well,
like,
it depends
used to
on what
being
you want to do. The first thing, and I'm sure Carmen can back me up on this, is the first thing is there's a shortage in our industry and trades.
Mhm.
And no disrespect to those kids that go to 4 years of school to be this and be that, but you don't have to have a degree to go into this construction business. And you could be an AC guy, you could be a plumber, you could be an electrician, you could be a mason. Those guys make a shitload of money because it's hard work and it's expertise. And it doesn't make any difference whether you're 31, 21, or 41. Now, if you're any older than 41, you want to get into that, and especially the physical labor of it, screw that.
Yeah,
Play the
that's
lottery.
holding you back. But I knew damn well you're not interested in construction.
No.
Well,
But now,
first of all, you have to have an interest.
Like his father
My
was
dad
there.
was a carpenter.
But
Grew
you've
up doing
been now. Were you? Okay, maybe I'm assuming too much here. Your father was a carpenter.
Yeah.
And how come, were you on a job site with this guy ever? Did he
Yeah.
take you?
Yeah, he left me and whoever he hired to do the job, and this is how I knew he was like all right at doing it. He would drop us off at the job site, and he'd say he was going to pick something up, and he'd disappear for 8 to 10 hours, and he'd eventually come back.
He was a GC, not a carpenter.
I mean, I saw him lay carpet, but I
That's
only
what-
saw him lay it real young.
That's what a GC does.
Okay.
Or
He's never
a
licensed as a
guy
GC.
that is not a GC, but wants to be one. Because my cousin would pull that shit all the time. He would drop us off, and he was my age. So it wasn't like I was looking up to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But he would make it very clear that he was so important that he had to go get either plans, or he had to go to the supply house, or he had to meet a client.
Mhm.
And if you question him, he would be like super incensed that you had the balls to even bring this up. Who got this job? Whose job is this? I mean, it became one of those power play things where he was lying. He was lying the whole damn time.
See, that's old school contractor. And I experienced that firsthand. You know, it was my dad's company, and it's my way or the highway, and don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
By the way, I got a lot of the jobs because I was a good talker.
Well,
You know, he would get us a job somewhere.
I'll tell you a story.
He got us a job that we couldn't even do, right? We weren't paving contractors. Yeah. We were doing, first of all, we were great at demo. That was one of our greatest things. Demo.
That's the fun part.
Okay. Demo. And then framing, concrete. He became a good electrician, right? And I bent a lot of conduit for that kid. We were not paving contractors, but we lived with this guy who was a sports bookie.
Okay.
And he used to put the Sweet 16 on the wall every year. You know, we would actually draw it on the wall in the kitchen. And, you know, there would be a lot of money. Is that a nickel? Is that a dime? How much money are you dropping on these games? We had a big party. It was more of, construction was just kind of a side thing. Our main life was gambling, drinking, partying, limousines, cocaine. We had a lot of fun. And I was always looking forward to that shit. So,
but you can't make a living doing that.
No. And we would make a living, a decent living, enough where for 6 weeks we could take off and just party. Now, after about 4 years, I was in the hole to the IRS. I had lost my fucking mind. I probably needed some psychology counseling. I had no friends anymore. I was isolated on a mattress in a bedroom.
You burned your bridges.
It was the Doors. It was a party for a long time, and I enjoyed it. But the thing is that we took some jobs because you're young. You're 24 years old, 25 years old, and you're like, we could do this, right?
Just for a while.
He bought one hand tamper, right? For asphalt.
That's old school. 2
buckets, some trowels. I go, okay, what are we doing? Because, we got a big job from this roommate's father who was buying properties all over the place. Because we're going to just fill some potholes. We get there. It's 3 acres of parking lot. It's massive. And I'm going, there's no way we can do this. We have to go out tonight by 5 o'clock. There's no way that we're going to be able to go drink any earlier than 6 now. So I found a paving crew that was working at a gas station. I went up to them. I subbed it out to them almost immediately. No verification. Had no idea who they were. They said they were going to do it. They finished the job. We reaped the profit. They got their money, and it worked well. And all of a sudden, we thought, this is how you make money. Well, we had a lot of backing.
That's sales 101.
Once you got the guy with the mouth who knows how to talk to everybody, it's just now you have to follow through. Do we got a guy that knows how to drive a steamroller? Do we got a guy that knows how to drive a Bobcat? Do we got dumps? All my uncle's guys. All my uncle's
guys.
As
long as they're not Tim the Toolman Taylor,
no, they were guys who were in the business for years.
Yeah.
But our advantage was Uncle Frank. You know, Uncle Frank knew people. And I'm really simplifying this because there was a lot more.
Oh, no, I understand exactly where you're coming from.
If my cousin ever really wanted to tell you the stories of this shit, I couldn't even allow him on the podcast because, he doesn't really regulate his mouth really well. So what they say, some of the stuff that they say, I go, you can't really talk about that. You don't know the repercussions.
Well, you got to keep in mind statute of limitations, though, too.
Yeah.
True, but it's been recent that we've had some shit.
Okay, well, then let's get right past that.
I bought a condo up there 3 years ago, and I started going on to job sites with them again. So it's been, I
would imagine they probably do things differently.
I said, so this shit's still going on.
So they do things differently up there.
Oh, so nothing's changed.
So I should shut the camera off.
I came up here to material harvest.
I can't put the guy on the phone, to tell you the truth. I couldn't put him on the phone for 5 seconds. He would just immediately get us all canceled. But
that's probably not a guest you want to have.
But he's lived a life of freedom.
Yeah.
This is how I grew up, though. I grew up with a lot of guys like that, and there's a lot more of them. Now you're a different game. See, you're a different game. I know who you are. I know who Maglick is. I know who Jeff is. I know who my guys are. I know what happens in the state of Florida. Although when I first got into construction school, I met a lot of characters that weren't following rules. They were doing a lot of shady things.
And those are the guys that make us look bad.
Yeah. And that's why we came up with this whole program, right? The Hire a Florida Licensed Contractor program, right? This has been out there.
We got one of those hanging in our office.
Yeah, we have these all over the state of Florida. I probably made 30,000 of these, but we've always preached and talked about and promoted.
You created that?
That's me.
We got one hanging in our office for the last 5 years. Is there a little compensation for free advertising?
Me, because I don't charge anyone for this public service announcement. I make them for free. I hand them out for free.
Public service.
It's a public service. Look, to tell you the truth, that's what I was thinking about a good 15 years ago was how do I kind of do my part? Because I've been promoting contracting in Florida for a long time and licensed contracting because I teach that. That's what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we're part of that whole safety and code and work comp, and we talk to all these people about. And this is why I want to do this podcast. It's because it's more than construction. Like people in it, the people that I've been meeting down here versus the people I knew when I was doing construction back in the 80s, which I love. Can't say I didn't love it, but we were young. And if you want to succeed, do you want to bring that business 30 years later into success, into an era where you're going to actually maybe have a legacy, maybe have money in the bank, maybe be free, you know, and possibly don't have to work too hard anymore, because a lot of guys are still on their knees because they couldn't figure it out. All you really have to do is know the people. People will make any business, whether it's comedy, construction. For me, I know people.
Anybody in my world that thinks it's all about them is completely wrong. My dad brought us up to think that don't ever think it's about you. It's who you surround you with, who you surround yourself with, and the people you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And it's always been great down here. I've really had a great ride in Florida because I saw it, especially Sarasota, when there was so much land available and there was a lot of little home builders. And I was trying to get in with all the home builders because I was doing the Home Builders Association meetings, doing stand-up. And I would see the names.
I was there.
Yeah, the Coachman. Remember Coachman?
Oh, yeah.
And Maglick is still been around.
Yeah.
But there was Eslinger Homes. You guys were out there.
Yep.
You had there was another guy that Larry Monaco had a lot of homes that he was putting up over at
Him and
by
Paul
South.
Pugliese
Where was that? At
were
McIntosh
partners.
Lake.
Yep. McIntosh Lake, Greenfield.
Leanne Chung, who her father I think was a big developer.
Yep.
All these guys, right? Todd Johnston. All these guys were just myths to me. I didn't know any of them. I saw their signs. It's kind of almost like when you, I don't care what kind of media it is, whether it's television, radio, billboards, if you see that over, like Morgan and Morgan, I've never met the guys, but I'm not saying they're people I want to meet, but they're almost like, if you saw them, you go, there they are.
You know them so well at this point. You've just seen them everywhere.
Just because of the advertising.
Yeah,
So that's the power of advertising.
it really is.
If you have money, you could become famous if you want to, right?
Yeah,
I would
but
see
you
those
know,
people.
wait. You don't necessarily have to have the money to become famous. So, you know, if you want to be somebody and be different in your industry, you just got to get out there.
Like
And
what?
my mom used to say, she said, Jeffrey, you're perfect at shaking hands, rubbing elbows, and
Yeah.
kissing the babies. And that's what you do.
It took you a long time to get famous, Jeff.
I don't consider myself famous, although,
That's what I'm saying. You didn't spend enough money.
you know what? I'm completely satisfied where I'm at now.
But I'm talking about fame, true monster.
Oh, you mean like
fame.
a Tom Cruise kind of fame
No,
in the
no.
building business?
Todd Johnston.
I had my own direction, my own path.
We're not talking about you. See, this is the problem with a lot of custom home builders. They're very egotistical.
I don't think so.
They got big heads.
I don't think
Look at
so.
my house. Look what I built from nothing.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
What I'm saying,
I'm probably.
what I'm saying
Wait.
is-
I'm probably the least
And I'm busting
egotistical
your balls.
guy.
I'm busting your balls because
And I'll give it right back to you.
I'm busting your balls because you missed the whole point. So I had to make sure that you understood.
Oh no. Let me clarify
Money-
something. I didn't miss any point. I went right by it. I chose to. I chose
I
to.
keep setting him up for answers.
I
That's what's going
chose
on.
to.
Yeah.
I keep setting him up. I should just talk.
No.
And then
Set me up.
He
Go
can,
ahead.
He can try.
Set
No, I
me
don't
up.
want to set you up no more. I'm gonna see if you can fit in now.
Okay.
Money, and you interrupted me on that, by the way.
Sorry.
Money is what makes people famous. If they want to use the money, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
You said there's other ways. That's the hard way, the easiest way. If you have money, right? And this is the problem with people think, I'm going to go back to comedy because every stand-up who's in the business wants to be famous. I don't care what any of them say. And the reason they want to be famous is because it'd be easier to get gigs, number one. It might not be an ego trip, and it might not be about the money. It's just that we like to get calls and someone books us. So to have the name would be good, at least. So famous, you could use that word and you could stretch it. I'm not talking about Tom Cruise famous. I'm talking about being a well-known personality, and you could do it in a small area like Sarasota. So the name I mentioned, nobody knows. This pod goes to Australia. Out of the 8 listeners so far, one of them is in Australia. So anyway, Todd Johnston is not a famous person in Australia, but here in town, his sign was up. I knew where his office was. He had a reputation. He was building higher-end homes. Right, Lee Weatherington was another one. You'd hear his name. The newspaper would always talk about these people. There's a social scene that talked about these people. And because there was a movement that was happening in Sarasota where we were building new homes. Three Oaks hadn't even been built yet, which is, 800 homes. Paget was in there. There was another, but those names were infamous within the industry, including Eslinger and Coachman and all those guys. And I would look at that as a newbie, a northerner, Jeff, not a southerner. A guy who came down, what do you call him, a carpetbagger? I don't even know what that means. But they brought me down.
Snowbird.
Yeah, but I was here permanently, and I was trying to now have the construction industry see me. The way I viewed those names and your associations was like anyone who created big sitcoms back in the 80s. Cheers, or even the Happy Days sitcom, any of those famous Hollywood things. Like I thought you guys were Hollywood, and I was trying to get in with Hollywood because I wanted to do your parties, your events, your associations, your trade shows, and I was a nobody. Those names were it was a wonderful ride for me to be able to crack into that group, that culture of builders and architects and engineers, and then the construction comedy school, which really led me to meet everybody. And I reached my pinnacle. I reached a pinnacle I never did that in Ohio. I mean, we were a pretty well-known construction company, but I wasn't aspiring to be anything known in the industry. Maybe I would have if I would have stayed there. I probably would have. But the whole thing is that I saw all the people down here, and I looked at their products, and I knew their levels. Toll Brothers, right? All these people, you would know who was at what level. And for me, it became a very personal achievement to try to break into this and know these people, and to figure out how could I be like them or be with them. I just want to rub shoulders with those people and be around them. That's weird. That's weird for a comedian. But it was my niche, the construction niche.
Right there. A niche.
It was my niche.
Same thing in the construction business as a custom home builder or as a residential contractor. You try to find a niche that sets you apart. And I did it with my dad. I did it with my brother, and I'm doing it with EM Custom Homes.
You're doing it right now.
Trying to find a niche.
No, I think even with this medium for you is perfect. You have a voice. You know how to talk. And this is the thing for a lot of guys in business. We have another guy that we're doing. He's a work comp guy. He's funny. He's personable. This is a new world right now. You don't advertise in the paper no more. It's gone.
No, there's no
Where
such
do you
thing.
advertise?
It's all multimedia stuff.
Do you advertise?
Oh, yeah.
Like where?
We do Facebook. We do.
Do you Facebook ads?
Yeah.
Who does it?
Facebook ad. I do it myself, or I have a girl that we use that is affiliated with one of our clients.
Are you in the ad?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Are you speaking?
No, it's just it's like a print ad on here.
I mean,
or
who
over
else
there.
do you want to buy a home from? A Southern boy born in Florida who knows the land. Is that not a commercial?
It don't get any better
From
than
Jeff
this.
Eslinger?
It don't get
is
any
that
better.
not
It don't get
the
any
guy
better.
that you want? Have you seen the guy with the cookie that sells hurricane windows?
Oh yeah,
He's one of my guys from
and
construction school.
everybody knows that for that simple fact.
Because he pulled out a cookie.
Yeah.
He's one of my guys. He's one of my students up in Tampa.
So hook me up.
And I didn't know him. And everyone in class was like, that's the cookie guy. I'm like, who? Because you don't know him? I go, I don't know. Now his commercials are reaching this area. But he's well known because he figured out, and it's not even a niche, right? It's a hook. We call that a hook. Mine's a niche because I buried myself within an industry and I really spread my tentacles out.
Right.
I created an act. I went after home builders. I went after general contractors. I went after underground utility guys. I went after the PHCC, the painting and the plumbing, heating, and cooling group. I went after the PDC, the painting and decorators, or I went after every organization, and I buried myself, and I just solicited to those people. And then I got picked up by their people, their suppliers, like AC guys like Train or Carrier would have dealer meetings, or the NAHB would have a gigantic show in Vegas and they would bring me in, or a window company. So the hook.
That's perfect.
The hook was the name Construction Comic, but then I had more. I had the actual act, which became the niche, because I didn't do it in clubs that much. Clubs didn't want to. How are you going to do that in a club? You know, you're a contractor character that talks about family construction and
most people,
kind of specific stuff
wouldn't
about
understand
labor.
that. They wouldn't understand it.
I tried to make it friendly,
User friendly.
Yeah, we call that on this podcast muggles.
Muddle.
Muggles, you know, the Harry Potter term.
Uh-huh.
But I could see that there's a lot of guys, and I'm pitching you right now
Okay.
on a podcast that you should be doing for your industry that no one does, from your perspective, which is the niche. Being a homegrown boy that understands the area and knows the area and knows the secrets that other people don't, that are coming from, there's people coming from all over the world now building homes here.
Oh, yeah.
What do they know compared to you?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Nothing.
do they know as much as you do? Will they ever know, by the way?
Not as much as I know about the community as a whole. No.
And could you also maybe
No.
even add in a little lifestyle tip, like a tip about lifestyle? Because people buy a home, then they don't know what to do in Florida. What do I do here now?
Well, first of all, lifestyle tip would be don't wear tennis shoes to the beach. Wear flip-flops. Or
That's it.
because you're going to stand out like a sore thumb
Mm,
if you're wearing tennis shoes to the beach.
it's got to be a little more.
Well, that's a start.
What else you got for me right now? As I know I'm hitting you on the spot, but a
Yeah.
lifestyle for Florida. What do you have to know if you come here and buy a home from EM Custom Homes, right? And it's a nice house. I don't know where it's located, but somewhere near Sarasota. Not in Sarasota, right?
Well, if you're asking for a commercial, it's in Sarasota and Manatee counties.
Okay, so you're in Sarasota and Manatee,
Yes, sir.
and now you have this beautiful home.
Mm-hmm.
Then I love to spend time at my house too. So I'm 100% with that's part of my lifestyle. But now what do I do here in Sarasota? Not the typical stuff that everybody else does. Is there anything else that I could do? I can golf. I go to the beach. People horseback ride down here. I don't get that one, but they do. Your daughter, did she horseback ride?
Oh, she still does.
Okay, so she's a horseback rider.
Equestrian.
I know it's a big word. We had an equestrian story, didn't we?
I don't know.
Wasn't
if
it
we did.
Charlotte that gave us the equestrian? No, it was Duke. He had an equestrian. Got
Here's
it.
my equestrian story for you.
Whoa, hang on. We're still on this. I don't know if
Okay.
you're following along with this.
I'm trying to.
What is the lifestyle that you see? If you just offer them a home, a lot of home builders are offering a home. What else can you offer? Can you offer? People lie about offering lifestyle. It's bullshit. You ever go by, let's just say the assisted living facility that's just going up, or the 55 and over community. And they have those, you ever see the fence covers, the big billboards they put on the fences to make the construction area look a little prettier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always these people who've never seen inside of these 55
Until
and
you
over
look on the
communities.
other side of the fence.
They're
it's
not
a
there.
mess.
They're not there.
No, there's no.
They're not there. They're not that happy either.
No.
They're offering some fake lifestyle, but there is a true Florida lifestyle, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
That we could offer people when you're down here? Is there something
sure.
that you could really get from being in Florida that you can't get?
Well, the first thing you can get from being in Florida as compared to being up north is a tan. Okay. And then a lot of times people, when they're moving down here, they say, well, how can you live down here? You can't even tell the difference in seasons down here. You know what my explanation is to them? In seasons, in the wintertime, your short pants are to the middle of your knee. In the summertime, your short pants are above your knee. That's how we tell the difference in seasons.
It's true.
It's true, but do they laugh?
87% of them do, and then
after
the
the
12% that doesn't, I don't care.
Because you sold the house already?
No, that's part of connecting with somebody. It's not all about selling. Okay, I'll give you an example. when we were growing the business,
Yeah.
and my brother and I were learning it, and we've gone to the point now where we need to start expanding. Literally, my dad took us into an office and said, whoever comes up with the biggest bullshit story is going to be in charge of sales and land development. The other guy's going to be the contractor.
Yeah.
Guess who won?
Creative.
Guess who won? I came up with the biggest
You're
bullshit.
the creative in the family.
I'm the creative one. I came up with the biggest bullshit story, so I ended up going into the sales and, driving the future of the company. And as my mother would say, God rest her soul, I was an expert at shaking hands, rubbing elbows, and kissing the babies.
And
I
that's
loved it.
what you're still doing to this day.
Yeah.
That's the way to be in everything, I think.
Well, I think so. I think if you want to make headway in anything you do, whether it's selling pickles out of a cart or building houses, people need to know who you are. You need to be out in front of them.
And friends. I mean, do you have any of these people who bought a house become friends with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of the best friends that I have to this day started off as a client. And they're such good friends. I say we've married, buried, and blessed family members together. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. And you're going to go through your life and do all kinds of things. And one of the most intense things that you will ever do is build a house. I don't care how many houses you built. If you're married, you have to agree upon doing on that, or you're going to end up getting divorced. And through the process, we try to interject humor. And we talked about this before. I think humor is a cure-all to everything.
Right.
And when you can bring a smile to somebody's face and literally see them go, ah, I've done my job.
There's got to be a lot
done
of
my
gratitude for you to finally give them the keys to the house and they walk in. Who's with them? You?
It's either me or my
Somebody?
partner or my son. Will take them through the customer
To
orientation.
show them the house for the first time.
Absolutely. Just show them the bells and whistles. And, they might say, well, I want this in the house. But at the end of the day, they don't really know how it functions. And that's part of what we do.
Yeah.
And we continue that conversation. And we've built more than one house for a family, built 2 or 3 houses for family members. And, you could have the spend millions of dollars on advertising. And I'm a firm believer the best advertising is the word of mouth and how you treat people.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody's going to be easy to get along with. And you try to remain calm and try to relieve the tension. I've had people come up to us when it's all said and done, and they might have been the biggest assholes to ever work with them. And when it's all said and done, and
Right.
you turn the keys over to them, they'll stop and say, hey, man, I know I was a dick to work with, but I really appreciate what you guys did, and I'm happy I got this.
And that's a testament to you because
And then you
stuck
go,
it out.
not bubbing for money, you go, I win. I win.
Because you did it.
Because I did
Because
it.
you had a hurdle, which was the client.
Well, yeah, and some of those hurdles are mid-range, and some of them are you need a pole vault to get over them, but
I don't understand how people can be so good at hurdles in business.
you have to be. You have to be. And when we started this, my brother and I started this adventure.
Does it take a little bit of you away, though? You have this.
I think so. Like I said, when my brother and I started this, and I'm continuing this on with my partner Dan and my son, and my dad used to say, he said, if you're going to do this, you better be ready. This is a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, and you're just going to have to get used to it. And, some days you want to go home and, kick the dog and slam the door, and the other days you're on top of the world. It's just part of being in this business.
That's what I'm saying. Does it take a bit of you away from who you are? Go ahead.
It might. What's an example of something that like you've done for a customer that you thought was an absurd idea, but they were adamant on? They needed to have this feature in their house. They needed to have this thing on their property that you knew wouldn't do them any good, but they had to have it. Because I'm imagining it's like escalator to the second floor or to the bathroom kind of idea. Like it's just, you don't need it.
Something that costs money. Big
You
money.
want a good example? Towel warmers in Florida.
Yeah.
And by the time it's all, no. You don't have to warm your towel. Just take a shower in Florida. By the time you get out of the shower, your towel is warm. And these things are not inexpensive. And I tell people all the time, we'll put whatever you want in the house, but be prepared. If there's something that we don't think it's worth economically,
Right.
and it's not going to be worth practically, I'll let you know. But you're the one that makes that in decision. But I mean, a towel warmer in Florida.
A guy next door put a sauna in his garage. This is Florida.
No,
He had I swear.
you know what a sauna is? Is
Close the door.
down the driveway, take a left around the street, go around the block.
I
You
have
just
I
saved
have
yourself
I
15
have
grand.
a black car with black interior. It's a solar panel. All you have to do is go in there right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
It's sitting in the driveway. You
Oh,
want to
yeah.
sweat?
Oh yeah.
It's probably 800 kilowatts in there right away.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that the right gigawatts? It's
No.
hot.
It's none of those things, but yes, I get what you're getting at.
It's some type
It's about
of
800 degrees.
it's some type of science number. Is that a science number, Donnie?
That's a measurement of electricity.
A watt is electricity. A heat. A joule.
That's energy.
Okay, give me the heat measurement.
You want
Hot.
Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Is that it? That's all we got is Fahrenheit and Celsius to measure heat?
There's Kelvin as well, but like that's not.
I always go to
measure,
Donnie. We're not allowed to fact check anything in this room, but Donnie pretty much knows a lot.
No, I've just spent a lot of time in front of a computer. That's about it.
So
Well-
you're a human computer.
No.
You're
No,
like
no.
AI. You were programmed by a computer. It's a reverse AI.
I told you before, I'm just autistic.
And everyone has their deficiencies. And if you were going to get into the technical discussion of heat, I was going to back out right away.
What about fountains?
That makes more sense though. It's Florida.
No, it's a cost. It's very costly, right, for a fountain.
Well, see, now if you're building a pool, you could put a piece of PVC and squirt the water out.
No,
We call that a fountain.
No, I'm talking about
That's
the guy. There's been several houses in my old neighborhood where they had fountains like in the driveway.
Waste of money. Unless you're going to put goldfish in.
So those things are for the ultra wealthy.
Yeah, the ultra wealthy or that person that has a lot of disposable income.
There's features that I really love about a house, and there's stuff that I could live without. But I really do believe that people get bored, and that's partly why we see the remodeling, not for function. The functionality, this is an older place built in 93. I have a bidet in that bathroom. That
Mhm.
bidet has probably been used by 8 different people who've lived in this condo over the years, and now including me.
I'd remove
Okay.
it.
I
I'd
never-
remove it and cap it off.
I love it. Are you kidding me? It's great.
Nah.
And my quads are getting really tight
Ooh.
because you have to be able to balance.
So it's like
over
a
it.
workout.
It's a workout. And you're not supposed to stand as long as I do, but it really.
So you
Is-
do your wall sits.
I had a
Well,
bidet.
Toes in front of it.
There might be a point to where we get in this conversation in regards to bidets where
Yeah.
we would say TMI and we'll just stop and
Never
move
end
on.
this pod. Trust me.
Okay,
In
just
fact,
check.
in fact, this pod's been actually NETMI.
Not enough TMI.
Yeah, we need more.
Not enough information.
We need more because people have listened to
Yeah.
this kind of stuff that we're talking about a lot. That's why I try to interject with something like bidet talk. Bidet talk is really not that edgy, but let's bring it in.
It's not.
It's not
Well,
edgy.
you know the shelves that you put in the showers
For-
in various areas for your shampoo
No, I
and your
don't.
soaps.
Oh yes.
Those can be multi-purpose.
Ooh, little
Now,
innuendo. Now we're
let's-
getting innuendo.
let's-
Donnie missed the whole thing. I
Let
No.
think.
No.
Okay, good because you looked at him straight ahead.
I was initially imagining just mounting the bidet to it. That way you were, just cleaning the whole thing at the same time.
Yeah, but it's nasty, Donnie. There's got to be a drain. The bidet has its own drain.
How is the shower drain? Well, I mean,
I don't want it in the shower.
You're telling me you haven't done worse in the shower.
No, I haven't. I met a guy the other day that tried to describe something sick to me, and I'm like, "What's wrong with you?
That's unfortunate.
What's wrong with you?" He
That's
was
unfortunate.
a barber. I mean, this is a public place, and you're talking like that. This is the problem with the world. They need more physical labor. That guy should have been a laborer for 4 years. He would have never had that kind of disrespect in public, right?
Well, you got it's. Some people just don't get it.
One thing that you were saying really reminded me of kind of backwards again. Like I was thinking, the idea of how you give a little bit of yourself for the customer. Sure. Every time you do that, and this is kind of like with family, friends, every time you compromise a bit. We always want to compromise and be reciprocal with friends, family, customers, because we hope that we're going to get back as much as we gave.
Sure.
Right? But sometimes you give and nothing comes back. So you lose maybe a little bit each time you put up with a dicky customer. And I think over time, what happens is that's where you see those people go, I am so done with this business. I am, that's where what is it? The straw that broke the camel's back, that just that final dicky customer makes that guy that's been in the business for so long just lose it. So you have to be careful. Is it worth the money? Is it worth the money putting up with the bullshit at some point? Or do you say, I'll be selective on who I use as customers? And you can at this point. A lot of people can't. You're in selective mode, aren't you?
I'm in my 50th year of doing this. And yes, I am in that selective mode. For the simple fact is every time you deal with somebody like that, you're giving a part of yourself away. But now, being in my 50th year and being as old as I am, I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, when I was 42 years old or 45 years old, I could have shot a howitzer down the tunnel and still not hit the light.
Yeah.
But now, it's like anything else. It's got to come to an end, and there's a certain part where you get into your career where you're waiting. You can't wait to get to the end of it.
We're losing all of these contractors who had 30 plus years of experience in the business.
Yeah.
And we're not filling the roles. I mean, it's been going like that since I've been teaching the construction school since 97. We don't have enough people to fill the role that want to be in construction, who want to be in the blue collar trades.
You know what I think they need to do? They need to make it part of it. Defining 4 years of experience doesn't mean anything. They need to have experience in a trade and know how it goes together. My dad used to say, there's guys that are book smart and practical stupid. You guys have the best of both worlds. You not only know how to do it, you know how to interpret it, and you know how to get it done. There's not a lot of people like that anymore, because no disrespect to somebody who goes to college for 4 years and wants to come out and be a project manager or wants to come out and be a contractor, they have no practical experience. So they're looking at a piece of paper and it might look like it has a crayon drawing on it, and that's how they're interpreting it.
Do you think that you would have worked hard if you were born into comfort?
Most definitely. I think I would have worked hard. I grew up in a.
There's gonna be a lot of people listen to that and be like, I don't believe that.
Well, you know what? If you don't believe it, then
you gotta explain why, though.
Well,
it's not that we want to tell people to go F themselves.
No. I wasn't.
If you don't believe it, I'll tell you what. And I'm just using that as a scenario. It's a hypothesis.
Absolutely.
We're not sure. There might be a bunch of people out there, Jeff, that are like, he's right, but
when you
heard what did you think his answer was going to be?
Well, it definitely wasn't going to be like pomp and circumstance. It's not like he was growing up around just like 4 different white poodles.
Whoa, why not? I say comfort. What if that was his comfort? Because
he thought towel warmers in Florida were stupid. Which means he has at least a little bit of practicality.
Because he didn't come from... forget the towel warmer discussion. I'm talking about this kid was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he got a brand new Riviera in 1985 when he turned 16.
Well, I mean, that's you.
No, that's people I know. Those people were born with luxury. They had pinball machines when they were kids, but they still work. They still work pretty damn hard. So maybe if you're born with comfort, you still will work hard. Now, I know a kid whose father is a neurosurgeon, and he enlisted in the military right after college. Blew everyone's mind. This kid, he was a West Point grad, got a, whatever they call it, a placement by a senator. He was recommended, ended up going into boot camp and doing the hard things that you would do that, most kids with the silver spoon, with whatever connotation of wealth you want to describe, he had the house, he had the cars, he had everything. He chose a harder life on purpose.
I think a lot of that has to do with the way he was brought up and his parents' influence.
Yeah.
It's
amazing, right?
Okay. I had a very comfortable childhood, but my dad never gave us anything. We had to work for it.
Yeah.
My first car, I had to work for it. My first opportunity in the building business, I had to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
And what describes that 157% is before I give you the keys to the car, you're going to have to learn how to put the thing together. And that was his expression. If we want to go into building business, you're going to work your ass off.
Right.
And one of the most things that my brother and I had to deal with growing up in a family business, those yahoos looking in from the outside into a family business, they're thinking Jeff and Jim, oh boy, those guys got it made. They got this and they got that, and they didn't have to work for this bullshit. I worked my ass off to get to where I was, and that was from the influence of my parents.
Right.
And my dad was influenced by his dad, and his dad influenced him, and I'm doing the same thing.
And that's what I hear
with my son.
I hear that you're very respectful of your father.
Oh, absolutely.
Your dad was a huge influence on you.
Oh, absolutely.
And
my grandfather.
Still to this day?
He'll be 87 in a week.
Holy smoke.
And he kicks ass.
And
he
he's
plays
still around.
golf
You
3
still
times
talk to
a
him?
week.
You're still with him?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how long do you think, it's because it's hard to detach because you're still with him, but his influence, when was the peak of his influence on you?
I would say the peak of his influence on me was in the mid 80s to the early 2000s.
Were you under his wing at that time at home?
No, not necessarily. I'll tell you a quick story. My brother and I were the framing crew, and he came out on a job. Now, just to emphasize what you were saying.
That's
Donnie, sorry. To emphasize what Donnie was saying, we worked. There's a difference between how I look at things today and how my father looked at it. He was old school, his way or the highway. We worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime my brother and I were framing on a job, if the old man came out, somebody's getting fired,
mm-hmm.
or somebody's going to get their ass kicked, right? Not physically, but mentally.
Right.
And so he comes out on a job, and I'm up on the roof, and my brother and I are running sheathing on the roof, right? And here comes the old man in the El Camino. I looked down, I said, "What did you know Dad was coming out the job today?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, somebody's getting fired. More than likely it's going to be me, and I'll see you in a couple days."
Mm-hmm.
And so I get down, and I get in. He says, "Get in the El Camino." And I said to him, I said, "Dad, I don't know what it was that I did." And he goes, "Well, you didn't do nothing. Just get in the El Camino." So prior 2 weeks to that, I had a buddy of mine that was moving out to California. He was in the family business, and his dad said, "I want you to go somewhere else and get your experience and then come back."
Yeah.
And I brought that up to my parents, and at that time, I didn't have a pot to piss in. So the old man puts me in the El Camino, and I'm thinking, all right, well, I got a two-day vacation. I'll just go out to the beach, and then I'll regroup on Monday, right? So he hands me this envelope, and I open it up. It's got some cash in it. He goes, and I said, what's this for? And he said, "You're going to California." I said, "Well, Dad, I can't pay you back." He goes, "Well, I don't want you to pay me back. I'm investing in your life. Now you need to get out of here, because if you don't get out of here, you're never going to get anywhere." And so that's one of the biggest influential. And I left. I left for 5 years.
Really?
I left for
You
5
said to
years.
your brother you'd be back in 2 days.
Well,
I was terrified after day 4.
well, yeah, he after day 4, he's looking around and go, "Where the hell's Jeff?"
Your father sent you somewhere specific?
No,
You said California.
I had a buddy that was moving to California. He had an uncle that lived in Mission Viejo,
right.
and I had conversations with him to go out there. Of course, I didn't have the money to do that.
Oh.
And so my dad more or less looked like this as an opportunity.
Did your father hear those conversations?
Yes, I had those conversations with my mom and dad.
Okay.
At dinner, we would all sit down at dinner every night.
How long did that take, by the way, from the first conversation of I want to go to California till it actually happening?
2 weeks.
So your father was quick.
Crazy.
Oh, sure.
So
Number one,
he
he
saw.
saw.
Were you planting a seed, or were you just talking off the cuff?
No, I was just talking off the cuff. Just talking off the cuff.
So he took a hint from you, and probably has watched you your whole life, being interested in things, and knew. Obviously, he acted quick.
I needed to get out of here.
But I'm saying, as you were a child, like if you talked about baseball, he probably got you in baseball right away.
Well, no, not necessarily. Not
You don't
necessarily.
understand
Or
the ins and outs
anything.
of
It doesn't have to be
baseball.
baseball, but I'm saying anything he was probably quick to say, I could see that my son needs this.
I would say yeah. But he would be the better person to answer that. But if I was to look at it this way, we would have family dinners every night, and we'd sit down and we'd talk about the topic of the day. And I would say, hey, Bob's moving to California. Wouldn't that be a great opportunity? I don't have the money to go. And that was about it. I never laid the groundwork, never.
How old were you?
I was 25 years old.
Mm-hmm. So did you go to college?
For a year and a half.
So you were out of high school, had gone to school another year and a half, in the working world for about 3 years.
2 or 3 years.
And that was probably enough for him to watch you, because he's watching you.
Oh, like a hawk.
He's watching you. He still cares about you and worries about you. And
He
wants
still watches me.
Yeah, I do the same thing with my kids. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still watching. My daughter's in Baltimore. She's probably 100 times further than I ever was at her age. She's constantly being moved up. But I still go, let's have a talk about this. Because
Well, sure.
I think I still know better than she does.
Well, as
Because
a parent,
as a father, you never that never goes away.
No.
It never goes away. Even though she's excelling, she's happy, I want to still get in there and go,
Well, you still have to have that
because it's
parental influence.
Yeah, and I see stuff. I do see stuff. I see things. Okay?
Just nothing pertinent. But you do see an entirely different view.
What do you mean nothing pertinent? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No. That's pretty
I think it all is pertinent. And here's the thing. When your kids are growing up and they're going through these experiences, and you render your wisdom to them and take it for what they want, it may go in one ear and out the other. You've been there. You've done that already. So now it's their turn. So you have to influence them, or at least render your opinion.
Sure.
And if they fall on their face, that's great. You're there to pick them
I
up.
also step back on purpose because I could also be, I think, it's not that I'm wrong. It's just, I have never had that experience, and I'd like to see how it plays out.
Oh, that's true.
I do. I want to see how it plays out. Negative or positive, I want to see how it plays out. I don't think it's going to end in disaster.
No.
But even if it doesn't turn out negative, I'm not going to cheer it on, Di. You're going to.
No. I don't assume that.
What do you assume?
I assume that you'd go down there and you'd. I don't think that you're going down there telling her how to party, right? You're not telling her like how to live it up necessarily.
Well,
it depends on the Who, though, right? Like if it were the band The Who, maybe. But like if it were just a guy on the street and you're like, well, he might have a LeSabre, he might have the leather jacket, he might have that pack of Marlboros in the front. I see him poking out of the vest pocket there.
I'm not talking
Don't
about
go out
men.
with him.
I'm not talking about guys.
Yeah, I just mean like going
No,
out and living
maybe
it
for my
up.
other daughter. For the other one, yes, because she doesn't have a guy right now, and I would definitely be. I'm always like this. My girl's current ex, whatever. I've always been very, and that's not what I'm talking about at all, because I'm very 100% confident. What's my opinion of this dude? I was thinking more in the business world when she just got another offer. My daughter just got another offer from her corporation, and they're going to put her through some more training. And for me, I'm anti-corporate a lot. You know, I'm like, a lot of that training is meant for people to comply. It's like indoctrination from school. It's kind of like trying to change you. That's why I say to you, was a little piece of you taken, because we're not used to it. If you weren't indoctrinated by a school system or some type of organization, you typically are still fully intact. I don't have many friends that are fully intact anymore because they've been through the corporate mill.
I don't think there's such a thing. And let me add this
Oh,
to
yes,
you.
there is. Look at me. Look at the stupid shit I do still. I had to swear to prove it.
This is true.
I'm still dumb. And I'm proud of that. I don't 100%
No, I mean intact
follow
when you
along.
say you lose a little bit of piece of things when you go through this process. I agree with you. I don't know anybody that's totally intact. And I will tell you this, the difference between being in a family business and being a business owner.
Right.
When I went to California, I made up the biggest bullshit resume you'd ever could believe, because all I ever did was work for my dad. And I got in to the largest building company in the state of California.
Mm-hmm.
And it was definitely the corporate world.
Yeah.
And for 4.5 years, I thought I did a good job. I kept my job. But the part of the job where you're having to kiss ass and do these unnecessary things, that wasn't for me. And I couldn't wait to get back to the family business, because we were in charge of the ship.
Right.
When you're in a corporate world, you're just the guy sitting in the back on one of the oars.
Well, you must comply for the good of all.
Yeah.
It's a communist society inside the corporation. It's run by the commune, which is the board. You know, it's a group of people that are going to decide what's good for all of us. And it's all about making more. That's why I said sometimes in a business like yours, you can go tell the guy that's a dick, I'm done with you. In a corporation, they would never do that. They want everyone's money, each person's cash, together in harmony. That's fucking bullshit.
It doesn't work that way.
I have burned more bridges, and it's not a brag. I had to do it because I couldn't put up with the shit that they wanted me to do. For me, the payoff was not great versus me. I wanted to keep me versus, you could get this role on this show, and you could be more well-known, and maybe this agency would take you on as a client. If you stop doing this, I'd be like, I can't stop doing this. This is what I do because I don't want to lose me. And I think that's a problem that I see, and that's where I get concerned with my kids. I don't want them to get lost. Now, my son worked for a corporation, construction corporation. He's a little disillusioned by what's been going on as far as his own personal aspirations, and he is now leaving that corporation. He found another one that's a smaller business that he didn't really want in the beginning. He wanted the big corporation. Now this guy, in his world and what they're talking about doing, it's more like you have a little more control within that group. And at first I was like, oh shit, you're going to give up this great big gigantic corporate job with all the benefits? That was anti-Carmen. That was not something I would ever even agree to. But once he was in it and I could see his lifestyle evolving and you start seeing the corporate trappings from a distance, he had the balls to say, I'm not doing this, Dad, because I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, and I want this life. And I'm like, you know what, Dom? You're right. And if it fails, who gives a fuck? Who cares? We'll fix it. We'll fix it. We will go get you a job changing screens on Lanai's. Guess what? You'll make more money doing that, by the way, than building homes.
And you know what? I think that was, if I was to think of that, I think that was my dad's intent. Go away, number one, and grow up. Number two, see how other people do it and come back. And I spent 4.5 years in the corporate world. I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought back 4 boxes of things to show the old man what we could do to make our company better and to get us to the next level. But it doesn't mean that we have to go corporate.
When he says grow up to you, when you say that, did he say that?
Yeah.
Do you think that we were simpler back then when we would say to
a lot simpler.
when my grandfather, when my father, when my uncle would say, I'm sick of your shit. And that was it. You were done with it. They would fire you. I worked at my father's pizza place. And when you said that you'd be back in 2 days, I assumed that your dad fired you and brought you back.
Oh, sure. You know what? At that time, it'd probably take both hands to count how many times my dad fired me.
Yeah.
And at most of the time, I was already living at home, and my mother knew if I walked through the door at 2:00 in the afternoon, she knew what was going on. And she'd say, okay, well, typically this can take a couple days. I'll talk to your dad.
Right.
You just go to the beach tomorrow and then plan on being back on the job on Thursday.
And that's exactly what my father would do to me. He never had a construction business. He was the one that tried to break away. He became a lawyer. But then he got disillusioned and bought a pizza place. And then when I was in 5th grade, I was 10 years old, I ran the damn thing. Yeah, I mean, it was great. I shouldn't say damn, but it was a hell of a job for a 10-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to walk over railroad tracks after school and go to, and I had a key. I didn't even have a key to my house, but I had a key to his fucking pizza place that I had to run till from 4 to 8. And then my cousin joined me, which was great. He was 13. So then we basically had our own little hang, and we had pizzas, and we had friends, and we had a great time. We shoot BB guns.
No child labor laws back in the day.
Nothing. But the thing was, he'd fire your ass. And he wouldn't pay me on time. Well, where's my $5 for the week?
Child labor.
If I collected enough money, he would just take it anyway. I need to borrow your money. Okay. But that was 1973. And I think that at that time, and you can't say to a 10-year-old, grow up. I'm not even near growing up, but he would always say, I'm sick of your shit. I'm sick of your bullshit. I'm sick, you know. In a family business, that's probably what separates, and I'm glad you clarified that, because that's exactly what I worked in Ohio. I never worked for another construction organization except a family business.
Here's another example of a family-owned business in the corporate world. In a family business, if you say something or you have a suggestion, you as the brother or as the other owner could say, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Now tell me something else that's going to make us better. Guess what? In the corporate world, if you say that, here's your pink slip and your severance.
Right.
And you're down the road.
It's all echo chamber. It's everyone saying yes to not lose their job. And eventually those yeses are no's, and they build it anyway. And that's what.
And you want to talk about leaving a little piece of yourself somewhere when you've been in that arena for so long, just to maintain yourself in that arena. You're leaving something behind by kissing ass. And I didn't come from that world.
How come people don't understand that, or maybe don't care that they're willing to give up themselves to fit in?
I think it has to do with family history. My family history is entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And, somebody whose family history comes from someone that their great-grandfather and their grandfather were in the corporate world, that's just the path you're going to take.
Yeah, and a lifestyle too, right?
Yeah.
Because they see, amazing, I was never in the corporate. My dad was in corporate because he died early. So my mother got remarried, and we moved to Iowa. Craziest thing, right? But the guy she married was
Cleveland to
from
Ohio?
Cleveland, Iowa.
Iowa.
So this guy he worked for Caterpillar, and he was a corporate guy. So we would get the corporate gifts, like the calendars and the
pins,
the sampler tray from
Hickory
Farms would come at Christmas, like the typical stuff would come. But for me, I'd never seen that. I'd never seen it. I was like, wow, this is really cool. These gifts, it's kind of like getting those trinket bags after the Emmys. They're giving us stuff now, right? And that kind of got me for a second. Like, I was like, oh, maybe that's the way to go.
I could see it.
Right? You start getting bought.
Yep.
But see, also in Cleveland, I was getting bought too, because I was getting out of parking tickets.
Because what, you ran the pizza joint?
Because this guy, Big Paul, knew people. So if you had something that he could take care of, Big Paul took, that's kind of buying you now. Like if you go to the feast and you're 10 years old, which I was, me and my cousin, What's rubbing on there, Donnie? What do you got there?
I thought
People
you
are
said,
watching.
OCD.
People are watching you.
I thought
No.
you said Frank was the man. So
Frank was
now there's
Frank-
Big Paul.
Big Paul was my
There's
great
Paul.
uncle.
Now, is it Paulie or Paul?
Well, his name was Poliocarpo, which is Paul. They called him Lish because he had blonde hair as an Italian. He looked Polish,
Oh.
so they would call him Lish. Lish lived in Little Italy.
Uh-huh.
He lived with some interesting people as a bachelor, and this other dude who was he's well known in Cleveland's history.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went to Little Italy as a friend or a good friend of Lish or a relative like me, then there was things that Little Italy would provide you. And there was a lot of welcoming things that made me feel like I was part of it. I like this part of a gang mentality. I like this part of being in a crew. I loved it with construction. I loved it with comedy. I loved it with my family. I loved it with my pocket. I like a crew, right? I did it in high school. I had 3 or 4 of my own crews that I even named that had jackets. And it's just, it could be something like Donnie's rubbing the machine. I had some type of compulsion.
You just
To
needed
fucking
this thing in
form
your
crews, right?
Yeah.
Gangs. Because I watched a lot of those types of movies as a kid, and maybe that was an influence, right? But Big Paul, Unc, as I call him, I lived with him in Little Italy, and those things that he was able to give me were me being bought off like a corporation would buy you off with a Hickory Farms package. That was my gift for being with him. Now, if I separated from him, I wouldn't get that anymore. That's why when I left Cleveland, I did feel a little alone in Iowa. I didn't have my family, didn't have my crew.
Yeah.
So after going to school in Iowa, high school and college, I moved back. I went right back into it, right back into construction. No, I went right back to Ohio. I went back to Cleveland. From Iowa, I went back to Ohio and went back to the crew, back to the construction crew, back to the gang that went out every night at the flats, that had the brand new Rivieras, that were doing a little cocaine, that had the weed, that had the mushrooms, that had the women, that had the gold change, the boots. It's in all my videos that I do. Any video that I do, any comedy video, that's my life. That's the life we led. You know, the strip bars. And then comedy seeped into it after I got disillusioned with that gang. That gang started wearing out. It was going nowhere. I could see it. People were kind of losing their shit, whether it was mentally, financially, relationship-wise, it wasn't going well. And then I separated from them with the help of my mother because I called her and she's like, you got to get away from these people. You've got to break away. So I ended up on a mattress in a city called Painesville, which is perfect. And I didn't know where to go. I didn't have enough money for rent. I had lost my job with my family because I wasn't going to work with my cousins no more. So I started doing my own side business. I was painting. And then I started doing stand-up. And I met my wife. And as soon as I met her, we made plans and we went to California. So that was a dream. We went to LA. And I started doing construction comedy, which was, almost perfect.
In California?
Yeah.
What year?
My first construction comedy routine was 1991.
I left in 91. I was there from 85 to 91. I lived in Irvine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me to go to California from Cleveland and Iowa was beautiful. California was beautiful.
It's the same when I went from Florida to California.
Yeah.
But you know what I didn't have in
in
California? I didn't have my cruise like you were just talking about.
Right.
I didn't have any of that. And when I got my first job with this company, I was an on-site superintendent, and there was 5 of us. We were building 1,000 apartments that were 1 mile from one end to the other, the job site. And I walked in and introduced myself, and they looked at me like some redneck bitch from the beach that just fell off the wagon.
Same way you Floridians looked at me when I moved here.
But I didn't let it discourage me, and I made some pretty good friends.
You got to take the black eye.
But all, if I did create a gang out there, it was all construction related.
Yeah. Well, you create a gang no matter where you go, right?
Right.
That's the way it works for me too. I create
Well,
a
that's
gang.
just part of life. You surround yourself with people, you interact with people, and
That's how you know the key to the world is people.
well, yeah.
If you move around enough, and I have, what you realize is it doesn't matter where you're at. It's who you're with.
Right.
That's why when my kids are like, I don't want to move here, I go, when we had a discussion about college, I said, you're all staying in Florida. We all have the Bright Future Scholarship. You guys did really well in high school, and we're going for free. You're not going out of state. And I had tears and crying, and I said, it's not going to matter. You're going to go and you're going to meet your people in your area, at your college, in your little vacuum world of just college people. It's going to be the same no matter where you go around the country. And you're going to be happy. And they were all pretty damn happy with Florida colleges. It doesn't matter where you're at. I was in Iowa. You think I didn't have any interest in going. I told my mother I wasn't going. She didn't even buy me a bedroom set because my sisters they had to go. Me, I said, I'm going to stay here with my uncle. I'm not going. There's no way I'm going. My mother fucking chased me with her car. I was on a bicycle trying to, I was like, fuck that, I ain't going, Ma. Right. And I used to hit tennis balls at her new husband because they would try to, oh, we'll take you to play tennis. And I would try to hit the ball as hard as I could at the guy. I mean, I was not happy that I was being yanked out of my area and I was going to put up a fight. So they pretty smartly sent me on they needed my help in Iowa over the summer to cut the lawn. And they said, well, it's just going to be a week, we'll put, and I fell in love with it. Fucking loved Iowa. To this day, I love Iowa. And realized it's the people that I met. It's the people that I'm around.
When I went to California.
Look at Donnie. Look at my new crew.
That's pretty much it, which is wild. I don't know why he stays.
Look at this. This is what I'm saying. When you have people that you enjoy being around.
Sure.
It could be in a friggin' condo. It doesn't have to be. I used to have a nice, bigger house and a nicer studio. Doesn't fucking matter. Why do you think podcasts do what they do? Podcasts today don't go to major studios with all the lights and all the bullshit. They just go, what's the content? Is it interesting? Your surroundings doesn't matter. It's who you're with.
When you texted me to do this, I didn't even think twice because of you.
Look at that.
Now, if Donnie texted me, I would have looked at it and said, who in the hell is that?
That's fair. I set reminders.
Just
for myself
being
to think
honest,
the same
brother.
thing.
Just being honest.
I get it.
But
Well,
no, it's
that's the
who
benefit
you are,
of-
who you know.
Yeah, man. And when me and you worked together, that we knew each other for a long time, and then we really knew each other when we started announcing together for baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And I look forward to that because
Oh, me too.
we had a crew, me, you, and Charlie,
And Charlie.
and we had a little booth that no one could come in, and we had a
No.
staircase that we knew if you were coming up,
Uh-huh.
right? So it was
We'd
almost
lock
like
the door.
If
We'd
you
lock
want,
the door.
it was almost like where Batman meets Ra's al Ghul. He's got to go to what mountains were those that he had to go to and climb to get up? Tibet, the Tibetan mountains, where the monks were.
Was
Was
it-
in Tibet, but there was a
Yes.
specific set, and I don't remember what they were.
Okay, so we were like the League of Thieves, the League of Shadows, right? We were the guys that were controlling everything that was being said to the crowd, and we had a staircase. You couldn't come up there. It was our staircase,
Oh, no.
and we would
And
defend it.
anybody that entered our inner sanctum knew that if they didn't have approval, they needed to get the fuck
Right,
out.
you give them a look. All three of us were like, "What are you doing here?"
What are you doing?
Right. So
And
that
they
was
knew
like
that.
was to me was one of the. Again, it's in Florida, so it's hot. We had an air conditioned little studio.
Yes, we did. While everybody else is out in the stands sweating their ass off.
But we put on a hell of a show.
Oh, yeah, we did.
We had me and you on the mic, and I had a playlist that was pretty killer. I mean,
Oh,
I
it's
was
phenomenal.
limited because sometimes I would slip with a song, and people were like, no. These are children.
Or
Right?
you might have been a little late because you were choking on a peanut.
Yeah, we had our own food supply, a lot of husks of the husk of the peanut got into my throat. That's what happened.
Well,
I almost choked, and I didn't say nothing to anybody because,
because I was more concerned about you hitting your
you don't want to
cue.
look weak in front of another man,
No,
even if you're
no.
dying. Even if you're dying.
especially to the guy that's on the mic.
No, and the other guy was a cop, ex-cop, right? When you got those types of personalities, you know what they would do if I told them I was choking? They'd be like, choke, motherfucker, choke. Right? They wouldn't have helped you.
No. What did I say? I said, rub some dirt on it and get back on the game and hit your cue. Let's go.
Right. You were not. I missed it. I missed the damn. I couldn't even speak on the mic because I was. But anyway.
All the shows that we did, and I call them shows when we were in the press boxes, we had a ball. There was very few discrepancies, very few mistakes, although I can honestly say with no ego involved at all, none of the mistakes came from me. It was typically Carmen with the music cues. But
you were I was the color guy, right? What did you call me? The music guy?
You were the music guy.
I wasn't even allowed to comment on anything.
No.
So I'm not a color guy.
No. And was it you and I that we went? See, I would be a little bit more descriptive when we were calling the game. With the, you
knew everything. You knew what first base was called.
Well,
It's called
first base, second base, the positions.
He knew the pitches. He knew a lot of things.
I mean, probably still does. But.
Well, there's a fastball. Josh Eslinger goes down swinging. Bottom of the ninth inning as we go home because we just lost.
It's not a southern accent, is it?
No, I have my radio voice.
That's Harry Carey.
You know when I would get on the mic, I would change my voice a little bit.
Did you? I don't remember that.
A little bit.
I think I coached you not to.
Maybe.
You got to be who you are.
But you find my niche with my voice.
Yeah.
That's what they told me.
That's how I ingratiate myself into the.
Well,
I don't really belong up there. What are you adding, Carmen, being here? Well, Jeff, please try to talk like who you are. And they were like, that's a big point. Keep this man. He might have other things. Other insights.
Well, there was a brief moment there where we thought about putting that show on the road.
Briefly.
Which, well.
Because I don't know how to sell it. I don't know how to sell that thing. If
mine was probably more briefly than yours because I enjoyed it so much. But
no, baseball to me is not the reason I was up there. It was, I wanted to be there for my son, my wife, the community.
But you also have to keep in mind, we had the best seats in the house.
It could have been Frisbee golf, and I would have been happy. It could have been. That's what I'm saying. It was the community, and I understand how deeply involved you are with the baseball niche. So I'm not going to try to destroy this.
Not anymore.
No, you don't. Do you watch baseball?
The only time I watch baseball is the playoffs and the World Series. Unless you're at a game, it's the most boringest thing to watch.
Okay, so you do go to games?
Every once in a while.
I don't want to go to games.
You don't want to go to games?
No, I'm not. I told you, I'm not a sports guy. I like to play. I like
the sound. Here's the two sounds I like. I like the crack of the bat.
Okay.
And I like the 100-mile-an-hour fastball that goes.
Okay.
You can hear it coming. Nothing better than that, baby. And guess what? Smell the grass.
Oh, I thought you said popcorn.
I was more of a sunflower seeds.
Yeah, I like spitting sunflower seeds. I love that part.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't know. I've only been to one baseball game in my life, and we left early.
So I figured you're not that guy either. No. Right, to sit and watch sports.
The most I've done is tennis, and I'm going to be honest, I could have lived without it.
It's not a big... I like to play these things. I'm really good at playing these things, by the way. If I was a little bigger, I probably would have been better at football, too. And I didn't even know football. I just love the competition, and I love the achievement of it. I love all that shit. But to watch other people, I've never been good at that. Even comics. I don't want to watch another comic. I was enamored by Eddie Murphy and Sam Kinison because I was new and I wasn't a comedian yet. But now to watch comedy, it's got to be something great. Something either really weird like an Andy Kaufman or something phenomenal like Patrice O'Neill. Something crazy. But just to watch comedy.
That's the same way I look at it in baseball. I played organized baseball. I played semi-pro baseball. I coached baseball and football, but I don't want to sit there and watch a baseball game because it's boring.
Right. And what do you do if you love the game that much and you don't want to watch it? What else could you do? Baseball podcast.
I could. Or find a hobby.
I'm telling you, so much more to these guys than just construction. Every time I talk, we were going to do a show called Side Hustles. I was working for Tough Built. I don't know if you know who they are, but they make like apparel, really.
Yeah.
They don't really make a lot of tools. They have a cool carpenter's knife that goes vertical. It goes.
That's the construction pants and shirts.
Yeah, and they also make knee pads. But this guy was trying.
Never had a use for knee pads.
This guy was trying to blow up his business pretty big. So he wanted to create a streaming channel, like a Discovery Channel for construction. And I had all these ideas for the guy. And one of them was called Side Hustles, which is every contractor I know does something else, whether it's for fun, money, sport, every one of them has something, right? Even my lawyers who are construction board certified attorneys that come to my classes, one of them is a huge airboat guy. You would never think this guy was an airboat guy. He's a native, I think, Floridian, and he goes on the Okeechobee. He's got a gigantic friggin' airboat, 4-seater. Like, it's amazing. He's a big fisherman.
Side hustle.
That's the thing that people don't understand, is that there's some freedom in the construction industry. You have this ability, once you understand physicality and how to fix things, you learn that in the business, but you also learn the habit of, how hard could it be to, I'm going to fix a side view mirror on my Kia. I got an old Kia that I wanted to fix. I got a mirror that I was going to buy from Kia. They wanted 500 plus. I go, I'll fix it myself, right? If you know how to just turn a wrench on even the smallest things, very satisfying.
Well, that's 2 steps in the right direction. If you know how to turn a wrench.
You got to know how to turn a wrench. You got to have a wrench.
And you know the difference between a Phillips head and a standard screwdriver.
Yeah. But you
then
also have to have you want the motivation. And
sure.
There's some pride. Like I told Kelly, I could buy a new car if I wanted. I got this car from a commercial I did. I still have it. I've kept it in shape. And she doesn't want to get rid of it. I don't want to get rid of it. There's some sentimental value to it because it was given to me. But it was also the idea that when I look at the Kia, I'm going to go, I fixed that mirror. That's my mirror. It's just something weird about that, right? That you did that job. Like my uncles building me that desk. Or even a door, right? A door, you go to Home Depot and buy a door.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put the handle on it, right? But my uncle, he would make me go to an old school lumber supply house, get a slab. And then he would chisel out all the detail. And then he would also chisel out.
That's called craftsmanship right there.
And he knew what he was doing. The door took us a while.
Yeah.
And we did it for a lady, and I underbid that job considerably. But I used to drive by that house and go, we did that door. He put the window in the door, which is crazy, right? Because you could go buy one. But he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to make the door.
To this day, every once in a while, I'll drive out to Bent Tree and drive past the first house we ever built.
Yeah.
And whoever I'm with, I'll say, that's the first house we ever built. And 45 years later, it's still there.
I was looking at homes in Cleveland to buy, and one of them happened to be a Reggie home. And that's my uncle. And I told my aunt, I go, Unc's house is still looking smooth. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I would love to buy this house, right? I didn't buy it. It was too big for my purposes, but to be in one of his old houses, for me, I don't know why he's so important to me, but he is. All the shit that he did, all the influence that he laid on me from, and he didn't say shit. He barely talked.
No, you set an example by the things that you do.
It was just who this man was.
Yeah.
And he was never out of character, and he never faltered. He never changed his mind or never said, I made a mistake. He was who he was.
Yeah.
Good or bad. And every time I saw him, you knew exactly what you were going to get from this guy. And that, to me, is probably one of the most powerful people I ever met in my life. So strong in every way.
See, I would say that about...
Knew how to handle his finances.
Yeah.
You know, he the idea of the family business, I think, is the reason that, and I know it now because I have a family, is you want to keep everything in-house. You want to keep the money in-house. You want to keep the family tight. You don't want that outside influence like that corporation talk to my daughter right now. You want the family intact as long as you can. And when you see them drift away, right, a little bit, it hurts. I can't imagine the old school Italians and how much they hurt from their family drifting away when the future started creeping in. Because for a long time, no one crept away. My mother had 11 children in her family, and none of them left the area. The 2-bedroom house they lived in together, and none of them left the area. None of them went out of state. None of them did anything much different than everybody. There's something beautiful about that. It's limiting, but there's something beautiful on a Sunday dinner or at Christmas, or when you see them later on in life.
A lot of people don't understand that. You know, the way I look at it is my dad couldn't wait for me to leave. I was a pain in the ass.
I figured.
Yeah, I was a pain in the ass. And so I went away and I came back and I say it's probably one of the best things that he ever did for me.
Yeah.
Because when I came back, I was a grown-ass man. I appreciated where I came from. And I would run in, like you were talking about, run into guys that I used to hang out with or the crews I used to go with and look at them and go, I don't want to have nothing to do with that anymore.
Yeah, eventually you can't.
It's the best thing that ever happened. And my two, Uncle Frank and Uncle Paul influences were my dad and my grandfather, his father. My grandfather, as far as I'm concerned, could walk on water.
Mm-hmm.
It was that. And the funny thing is, God rest his soul, he lived to 95 years old, strong as a bull, just sat in a chair and checked out. And he would tell these old stories, and he would tell them over and over again because, he's getting old.
Yeah.
And it never got old. It never got old. And, some of the stuff would get a little exaggerated, but it never got old. And that's my Uncle Paul and my Uncle Frank was my dad and my granddad.
Yeah. Yes.
And those are the kind of people that influences you.
It's a man thing because your mom wants you to stay. Your dad knows better. I knew better. I absolutely did not want them to stay. My Uncle Frank didn't give a shit. He would never say, you got to stay, not verbally to you, but they did. Everybody stayed. My Uncle Paul never had kids. My grandfather, he was a kind of a hard head. I don't know much about him. I don't think it's weird with him because I think him and my father had a problem. So he had a problem with me. That's where my father joined the military to get away from his father.
That's that generation.
He went to Germany to get away from his father and married my mother in between. And then I was born in Germany because my mother flew over there. So, yeah, I've been involved in when we talked on this podcast, a lot of people have straight lines in their family. Mine's a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always trying to bring it back to a straight line to figure out where's the path? What path are we on? But it's kind of why I am the way I am with the scattered things that I do. I have a scattered life that I organize. It's a straight line, but it's a cloud.
Are you okay with that?
To a certain point.
But at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
I'm okay now with it. I know that's how it works. But as a kid, I think that's why I kept trying to self-correct, trying to go back when no one was telling me to go back. I was trying to fix. I was trying to help when I was not needed. I was trying to inject myself into a lot of things that people didn't want me in because I was cut out. I wasn't cut out by my choice. Even a school that I was with for a long time never happened. I was at a school at the most for 2-3 years, and then I would be put into another school. So the problem for me was, well, how do you take all of those pieces and make a path out of it? Well, who are you? And me, I became a person. I'm social. I like to, no matter where I went, even Iowa, first day I met a kid on the bus stop, made a lunch date with that kid and said, I need someone to sit with. I don't know anyone. He didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that was it's like going to jail. I would immediately go find who do I sit with at lunch here today?
In the slammer. So are you telling us some secrets here?
I'm just saying that's how I felt being in a new school it was like, to me, I didn't know these people. I was in a prison. I was in some situation I didn't want to be in, and I was forced into it. I was sent there. So how do I make the best out of it? if this is not my choice and I have to do this, what do I do? And turns out, by the time I was done, I had my gang. I had a group of people. I ran all the parties. Everybody thought I was funny. Everyone thought I actually did so well, I was going to graduate early. I had enough credits because I said to my mom, I'm going to try to get through this as fast as possible. I'd like to accelerate the courses. We talked to the school. They introduced me to all the senior teachers. They said, fine, we'll get them on a faster course. They'll take more credits. And by 11th grade, I was able to graduate. I was eligible. At that time, once it happened, I didn't want to leave because now I had a bunch of friends. I was on all the teams. So senior year, I didn't go to school till noon because I didn't have to. I was at school for a couple hours.
And a social event.
It was social.
Nothing
the
wrong.
whole year was
Nothing
social.
wrong with that.
It was amazing. Right? And that's how I kind of play it now. When I think of the things that we do today, whether it's the construction school that we have, that's a gang for me. That's 10,000 students that I have in the state of Florida. In each pocket, I have friends. I go to Pensacola, and you talk about old school native Floridians. They're in Pensacola. I go down to Key West. Same kind of group, by the way. It's weird. Orlando, no, of course not. There's a bunch of mixed groups of people from the north and south. But in each pocket, I have a good chunk of people that I know that I'm very comfortable with.
Those people in Pensacola are closer to the south than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want any change.
No,
and they don't. They do the polite thing very well. The sir and the ma'am thing, very polite people, and the miss, right, to my wife, and very kind to us.
well, that's Southern hospitality.
Yeah,
You don't call
but
somebody by their last
can I
name
tell you
until they
something?
invite
They
you.
don't laugh as easily.
Oh, well, yeah.
The laughing is reserved. That's a different kind of thing. How long have we been doing this, Donnie?
About an hour 50,
Really?
almost 2.
You're supposed to hit me at 1:30 and tell me that we're talking
I?
too much. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, we're doing the podcast now?
We did 2 hours. Already 2 hours. That's what I say about this thing. It goes
Can I ask
fast.
one last thing before we stop?
Yeah.
It's something that's been on my mind.
Sure.
Would it be considered a compliment? Like, is this an aspiration as a home builder to build a house that may eventually be haunted?
Well, I tell you, I'm in my 50th year, and I will guarantee you that's probably one of the houses that I started in my career, whether it's here in California, has got to be haunted. So, yeah, that'd be kind of leaving my mark behind. What do you think?
That's just exciting for me. Like, I was just curious to know if that was an aspiration that an architect would have, of that this building has lasted so long that people have died in it. There's ghosts in here now. There's literal spirits that aren't the builder left in this building.
Well, you know
But the
what's
building still stands.
it's funny to leave my legacy behind on houses. When we were framing, we'd be up in the roof somewhere or in the attic and framing. And I bet you can go back in a house 45 years ago and it'll say Jeff Eslinger was here and the date. Oh yeah,
I've done that shit
That's
too.
scary. That's scary.
That's weird, right? What is that? What do you think that is, Donnie?
I don't know.
That someone who needs a sign.
I mean, like the sign is one thing. Sign is one thing. That's like your mark on the house.
I can see where you're going, Mr. Ego, but it has nothing to do with ego. It has to do
With
that.
what then?
It has to do that I was here 45 years ago, or I was here 50 years
Fear of death?
Yeah.
I'm not scared of dying. I could
Is
walk.
it-
I
what
could
is
walk
that?
the
Is
end of
it
the
an
driveway.
existential thing? That you want something to survive longer than you?
I don't think you need it to, but it's nice to know that it did.
I do that, and I'm not saying it's bad because I've done this. It's weird that someone else now has said this thing that I've done. It's very rare that people do what I do. But you're thinking that same thought pattern. So I'm wondering, what are we thinking when we're doing that?
How cool it would be to come back 50 years from now, climb up in the attic as an old man and look at my name written on a truss.
Do you think that's from a movie that you saw it and
Oh,
then
no.
you just
Absolutely
imitated
not.
it? This is like
Absolutely not.
life imitating art?
This is
No.
my own creation.
That seems to be.
It's not, because I do it.
No, I think.
Well, I didn't know you 45 years
I'm
ago.
telling you that we're on the same
probably-
wavelength for some reason.
Well, see, we
There was
connect,
a-
brother.
Did
There
you
was
ever have
an
your
old-
children sign those trusses in the attic?
No.
Okay, all right, because I've done that.
No.
My kids all signed it. Did you ever mark their height on some type of piece of drywall? Or
Oh, yeah. I actually put a piece of wood, they don't make it, Formica on the wall. Josh,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, Jay.
And you moved out of that house?
It went with us.
Oh, you took it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we moved out, I couldn't take the piece of drywall, and the woman that bought the house said to me, if you want to cut this out, that's how nice she was. And I said, no, I think I'm going to leave it.
Did she expect you to replace it? Because that
I'm
matters a lot.
sure. And then also in the attic, the trusses, they always signed the trusses. They were babies. They were like 2, 3. I used to put them on.
I didn't think about that.
And then they would mark them.
When I did it, though, I wasn't even
they weren't that young.
marriage.
My kids were probably, they weren't babies, 5 at least.
See, I did this when I was framing. I was in my 20s. So I was so far away from being married and having kids, that wasn't even a thought. It was just something I thought about doing that would be cool. And whether it's on a 2x4 in a wall or a truss and running trusses, I just thought it'd be cool.
I think it is cool. I think it's something. It is something that people did in concrete. People do it as graffiti. People do it in Paris when they put the locks on the fence. It's something that you left of you there.
And and you know what the cool thing is? No matter who lives in that house or what ghost is in that house, it'll always be there.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we started this with the ghost. His idea, though, I wonder, because if Donnie says a house is haunted it implies that something horrible.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Just that somebody's energy is tied to that building. Like they bonded with that area.
I've never
so
seen
much.
a happy haunted thing.
Yeah,
Well, typically, they're not fun stories.
I was thinking
So something
that when he
horrible
brought
happened.
it up. Haunted
Mm-hmm.
is a negative connotation.
Well, the house is still a nice house. That's why people keep buying it. But the problem is something happened in the house.
And let me just
The
add,
builder got upset,
get,
slashed
and
this
shot the
dicky
customer.
that he had.
Well, that would defeat the purpose because who's paying you at that point?
I
You
don't
can't
know.
just leave them with the
I'm
property.
just trying to
before they-
hypothesize. Look, hey, when we play the improv game, you don't shut down ideas. You just go or.
I mean, like a Casper the Friendly Ghost type scenario. Don't look into how he became a ghost, but a Casper the Friendly Ghost
Oh,
type
really?
scenario.
Is there some scary thing about Casper?
He basically was shoved into a machine.
Wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, it's not great.
This little
Pretty
children's
bad.
ghost animation has got a bad backstory.
Well, I mean, he didn't exactly.
Was he in one house the whole time?
He
He
got
haunted-
to wander, but he had a house.
Okay. I think of Beetlejuice, that house, when I think of it, or I think of Amityville
I still
Horror.
don't know how Beetlejuice got tied to that house.
By the way,
I'm gonna be
Amityville
honest
Horror,
with you.
that house was ugly as hell. I don't even know who would buy it. That's
Couldn't tell you.
What about Beetlejuice house?
I don't know how he got there because I don't think he died in that house. He was just a demon. He just showed up there.
Okay, so it could happen anywhere.
But yeah, but the husband and wife though. The husband
They
and wife
drove
ghost.
off the bridge and died. So they're karmically
See, they didn't
attached
die
to that
in the
house.
Mm.
They
They died
didn't
outside
die
the
in the house, but that was
Their energy
where
was
they're
there.
at.
So you could do a podcast almost about anything.
Well,
You're
You
good
know.
at this. You have other things to say.
I'm
I had no idea you had a backstory on Beetlejuice.
Add that to your list.
Holy shit. You got some shit in that
well, I
head.
would tell you what, my kids refer to me as the king of useless and meaningless trivia.
Mm.
Don't invite me
That's
to a
very
Trivia
nice.
Pursuit game because
Oh, I'm 100% invited.
I will kick your ass.
Really? What was I going to say? Could it be possible that you would name your custom home company Haunted Houses?
It would be like a 120-year time period before a return on investment on that. Like,
What if you lied? You built it and it looks like an old structure. Like I was going to open a restaurant in Sarasota called Cleveland, and it would be like an old building since '59, potholes in the
you'd buy a dilapidated building, do
Right.
no renovations.
and then lie about that. It's like if we've only been open 6 months, but it has a sign that says since 1959.
And your slogan could
It's
be
not lit.
nobody wants to be here.
Yeah, well, the waitresses would be rude.
Yeah.
Right. It would be just like an old greasy spoon diner in Cleveland. And no one would say it's a replica. We would never even admit it. When the press came or when they started investigating, I go, no, it's been here since '59. I would just adamantly lie. See, Donnie loves that. I knew he would love it.
I'm just trying to imagine him pulling this off, and they're like, "We have pictures of this lot 3 weeks ago. There was nothing here."
What can I tell you?
You pull up a Photoshop picture just like on your phone. You're like, "What are you talking about?" It's a picture of you in there, but it says 1959 on the bottom.
I would never defend it. I would just continually say, it's been here, okay? Now leave me alone. I'm busy. I'm from Cleveland.
You just walk inside. You're not doing anything. You're staring at them from the window.
Oh, gosh. So many ideas. Well, Jeff, it was very good having you here. I'm glad we reconnected. I'm glad that the business, I've been thinking about you for a while because we haven't seen each other in a good long time.
Since the boys graduated high school.
But I knew you were getting back into the custom home building because you were out of it for a while. And I thought he hit it at the perfect time. You nailed it.
Dan and I have been doing this for 10 years.
Has it been 10 already?
10 years.
Yeah. And since that 10-year period, we've had COVID. We've had all the people flocking to Florida. We've had a huge increase in the cost of homes.
All kinds of crazy stuff.
Really, and the inventory supposedly is still low on new homes in the country. We're still at like some type of 4% deficit for housing. But you hit it at the right time. And you were talking about that too. You were talking about getting back into it. And you made it happen.
Well, when Eslinger Homes closed in 2009, I did onesie twosies here. I'm a licensed real estate broker, so I did that too. But I always wanted to be in the building business. And everybody told me don't do it. From my father to my brother,
your father
to my wife said don't do it.
Really? Why? What was the reasoning on that?
Just it's like the timing never seemed right, or it's just, you got to let it go.
So you are a perfect example of not listening to
never give up.
People always say that when someone wants to change, other people don't want them to change, so they'll try to stop you from changing.
Yep.
You're a perfect example of you just got to go with it. Just
I never gave up.
And never quit.
I never gave up. And I was in the right place at the right time, and it had nothing to do with the building business. And somebody recognized me as one of the Eslinger boys. And this was the daughter of a developer.
Yeah.
That my brother and I, and even my dad, had a long-term relationship with.
So you had a reputation that got you, even a reputation you hadn't used in a while.
That I hadn't used in a while. And this person came up to me and said, "You're one of the Eslingers." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "Do you remember who I am? I'm the daughter of such and such." Well, the last time I saw her, she was this big. Now she's a grown adult. By the way, he's starting up again. Because one of the neighborhoods that we were in Bradenton, called Twin Rivers, that's where my brother and I were at. That's the last house, the last model that we closed when we went out of business, was there. And so, the phases coming up after that, they were shut down for 5 or 6 years. And I was just in the right place at the right time. And the daughter said, "You should give him a call." So, being the aggressive person that I am, 2 hours later, I called him. He said, "Let's have lunch." And he said, "I have an opportunity. This is what we're going to do." He said, "I always got along with you and your brother. Loved having you. If you can get it together, I got a place for you." So I walk out of there all pumped up. And a new opportunity to build, get back in the business. I don't have a company. So then I talked to my brother, and the only other people that I would even consider this opportunity is with the Magliches. And so I proposed it to them at a lunch at Applebee's one day, and here we are 10 years later.
Beautiful.
Just in the right place at the right time.
It's the story that has to be told because people really do doubt themselves too much, and they let outside influence stop them from moving forward. But anyone who's successful, a lot of people who are successful have a similar story, and they attribute it to, right place, right time. But also, you got to have some motivation, some ability to be able to put a plan into action. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. You made sure it happened.
From all the different influences that
it's
I
a lot about you, is what I'm saying. It's a lot about you.
I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up. And having experience in the corporate world, that's not where I wanted to go. So I did what I could do to bide my time to get where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen to anybody else, which.
And now you have this freedom, this ability to call your own shots. You have money coming in that's probably pretty decent. We don't need to get into exacts, but you can tell me later. You're getting new Batman collectibles. You're so, I hope, happier, because that's what we all want. Is we are trying to create less. Stress happens, but we'd like to have self-imposed stress that actually benefits us. Even if it is stressful, it still creates joy for us, happiness, what we're doing. This is not easy. I don't know if you see this. We set these cameras up. It's not easy.
No, I know. It's a lot of stress. A lot of stress sitting
It's
here
a lot
on the
of stress
couch
in here,
talking
but
to
we're
him.
doing what we love, right, Donnie?
That's right.
So thank you, really.
No, one last thing.
Okay, we got more.
To
Hang on.
emphasize what you just said, that describes everything for me personally.
Yeah.
Doing what I love to do.
Yeah.
It don't make any difference whether it's building houses or boiling peanuts on the side of the road and selling
I
them.
love that.
In Bryson City, North Carolina,
Oof.
at the Hickory Market.
Is that by the train station?
No, it's down around the corner at the end of the street.
It's a beautiful little town.
You been to Bryson City?
Oh, yeah.
Do you rode the train to nowhere?
I didn't get on that train.
You got to get on the train, bro.
I think it was winter or something, but it was.
I love it.
I love those little North Carolina towns, and
Oh, yeah.
it is Mayberry RFD. Maybe you'll end up there, Jeff, but I hope you don't leave too soon.
Well, you know what? There'll always be a place in Sarasota.
Yeah, I can't give up Sarasota.
No. See, but the difference is I'm from here.
Oh, no. See that?
Born and raised.
What does that mean? I love it too.
No. I'm just saying,
I'm not leaving, Jeff.
You go back to Cleveland all the time.
my Sarasota,
I
Carl,
gotta see the cruise.
Carl.
I have different cruise.
my Sarasota, when I was growing up,
Yeah, I know it's different.
is not the Sarasota
And
of
I
today.
heard this in when I came here in '92. I heard the 85-year-olds when I was in my 30s tell me about Fruitville Road when it
yeah.
only had orange trees and the rest of these things. And now I'm doing it when I tell these people
Bee
Three
Ridge.
Oaks wasn't there.
Bee
You
Ridge.
know, we used to have a mall called Sarasota Square, and it's
Sarasota Square was a dream. It was Gulf Gate Mall.
I love
Bee
Gulf Gate Mall.
Ridge ended at Beneva.
Well, for a lot of people who are in Australia, if you've never been to Sarasota, we got one listener in Australia. If you've never been to Sarasota, it was a small, and they thought it was basically a bedroom community. It was a tiny little suburb 60 miles away from Tampa that people thought they could retire to, and now it's really the place to live. Don't come.
What? When I was born in 1960, the population of Sarasota was 80,000.
It's crazy.
Now
It
there's
really
a
is
million
crazy.
people between Sarasota
you know,
and Manatee.
You know how beautiful this place is.
Oh, I wouldn't. Guess what? I wouldn't live any other place. As a businessman, as a parent to raise my kids.
Well, we're going to have to wrap it up. I think
All right.
we did a great job. And I want to give you a little sticker. And,
Oh, nice.
And a big magnet. And this is my contractor life sticker that we came up with too. So you could have all three of these. This is our parting gifts to you to
That's
promote
it?
Why they stayed on the
contracting in
table.
Florida.
That's
I'm
it.
wondering why they stayed on the table this whole time.
Well, I think we should start promoting this idea of. I don't want this podcast to be limited to Florida, but look, we're in Florida. I know a lot of Florida contractors, and until we get an Australian contractor to fly here and do the pod, it's going to be tough. So hopefully they'll come. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you
Pleasure.
guys later. We'll see you later.